Hey, do you know how our lungs works? You may be startled by knowing that how we inhale oxygen and exhale the waste material carbon dioxide. Before knowing the whole process, we must know the anatomy of our respiratory system. So basically our respiratory system begins at the nostrils where there is nasal cavity, and the nasal cavity extends to the pharynx, which is also parted as nasopharynx, oropharynx, and it ends at laryngopharynx. Laryngopharynx then opens into the larynx at the top of the trachea. The larynx then links into the windpipe, which is trachea. Our larynx continues to trachea and it extends downwards to about the level of the fifth thoracic vertebra, where it divides at the carina into the right and primary bronchi. The one and only functional organ in our respiratory system is our lungs. There are two cone-shaped lungs which is divided at left and right lungs. The space between lungs is called mediastinum, which contains our cardiovascular organ heart. The lining which shapes our lungs is called pleura. There are two linings which are in the space between these two. There is small amount of serous fluid which is called pleural fluid, which protects our lungs by lubricating lungs during movement and breathing. And now it comes the physiology of the respiratory system, which is exchange of gases between body cells and the environment. The physiology involves two main processes, which are breathing, which is the mechanical process of moving air in and out of the lungs, and gas exchange. Gases exchange between the alveolar air and the blood in the pulmonary capillaries is called external respiration. Gas exchange between the bloodstream and body tissues is called internal respiration. The first process comes is breathing. In breathing, we inhale the oxygen and exhale the waste material carbon dioxide. Each breath of ours consists of three phases: inspiration, expiration, and pause. Okay, now let's move into the topic inspiration. So, what happens in inspiration? During the stage inspiration, we inhale oxygen, which simultaneously contracts the external intercostal muscles and diaphragm. And eventually the contraction of these two enlarges the thoracic cavity in all directions, and the pressure and the contraction of the external intercostal muscle lifts the ribcage as a unit upward, and it results in the expansion of the thorax anteriorly and laterally, and eventually all the contraction of this expands the lungs tissue and pulls the lungs upward and outward with the ribs and downwards with the diaphragm, and this expands this all contraction within the external intercostal muscle and diaphragm results in the expansion of lungs, and eventually it falls down the pressure within the alveoli and in the air passage. Now we will move into the last phase, which is expiration. So what happened in expiration? Well, in expiration there is relaxation of the external intercostal muscle and the diaphragm, which results in downward and inward movement of the rib cage, and also there is elastic recoil of the lungs, and this recoiling of the lungs increases pressure inside the lungs, and it increased pressure expels air from the respiratory tract, doing the expiration. Now we will move into the next part, exchange of gases, which is also called as diffusion of gases internally and externally, which occurs across the semipermeable membrane. What is external respiration? Is that means that the respiration occurs outside of our body? Well, no, that's not the right. The right is external respiration is exchange of gases by diffusion, which occurs between the alveoli and the blood in the alveolar capillaries, and it occurs across the respiratory membrane, which is surrounded by a network of tiny capillaries. In other hand, internal respiration is exchange of gases by diffusion between blood in the capillaries in the body cells. Gas exchange doesn't occur across the walls of the arteries, and it occurs in the tissues of their blood cells. हर कोई परफेक्ट नहीं होता, आप भी नहीं, मैं भी नहीं, बट वी कैन ट्राई टू बी परफेक्ट, राइट? देन लेट्स फॉलो दिस सिंपल स्टेप्स. उम्मीद है ये आपकी मदद करेंगे. मिलेंगे अगली वीडियो पे. तब तक आप मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर लें.